We build our lives on stories, the stories our parents tell us, the ones we tell ourselves, about where we come from, who we are, what family means. We cling to the familiar photos on the wall, the shared holidays, the comforting routines. We think we know the foundations, solid, dependable, but sometimes the foundations aren't just cracked. They were never what we thought they were. Sometimes the love story you grew up admiring is actually the cover for a secret kept locked away out of fear, desperation, and a fierce, complicated love you never suspected. My name is Liam. One click on an email didn't just unravel a thread, it pulled the entire tapestry of my life apart. This is the story of that unraveling and the agonizing, surprising journey of trying to weave something new from the wreckage. All right, you ever have a moment where reality just fractures? Like you look at something you've seen a million times, your house, your parents' faces, and suddenly, it's alien? That's been my life for the past few months, and it all started with spitting in a tube. Let me paint the picture, the before picture. Think maximum effort suburban normal. Mom, the queen of PTA bake sales and gentle smiles. Dad, the guy who taught me to throw a baseball, obsessed with grilling, tells the same terrible jokes every Thanksgiving. Me, Liam, college student, expert eye roller at said jokes. And my younger sister, Chloe 19, the bubbly artist of the family. We were nice, stable, maybe a little boring, but reliably boring. Their marriage, the gold standard, 25 years, still holding hands, sickeningly cute. They were the fixed point in my universe, until they weren't. Last Christmas, the trendy gift, ancestry DNA kits from my slightly eccentric aunt. We all did it. Laughed about finding out we were 1% Viking or whatever. Sent them off. Forgot about them. Just another Tuesday, right? Wrong. So incredibly wrong. Fast forward to April, buried under midterm stress, mindlessly clearing my inbox. Then bam. Your ancestry DNA results are ready. Okay, cool. A welcome distraction. I clicked. Scrolled. Ethnicity pie chart. Yeah. Irish/German, knew that. Then the DNA matches. My heart rate picked up a little. It's kind of weirdly fascinating, right? Seeing these connections. And there they were. Chloe, matched. My aunt, matched. A second cousin twice removed, I think Mom mentioned once. Matched. And then, my eyes snagged on a line. Close family, predicted, father. Except the name wasn't Mark. My blood didn't just run cold, it felt like it evaporated. Daniel Peterson. Who the hell is Daniel Peterson? My brain short-circuited. Error 404, reality not found. This had to be a mistake. A lab mix-up. Contamination. Anything but what it implied. My dad is Mark. Mark. The man whose slightly too loud laugh echoes in my memories, who sat patiently through my terrible teenage garage band phase, who gave me that incredibly awkward, heartfelt talk about respecting women. He's Dad. My fingers, suddenly clumsy, fumbled to check Chloe's matches. Her predicted father? Mark? Our dad? Mark? Okay. Not a lab error affecting the whole family batch. Just me. Panic, cold and sharp, stabbed into my lungs. I refreshed, logged out, logged back in, cleared cache, prayed to deities I didn't believe in. The name mocked me from the screen. Daniel Peterson. My mind scrambled, grasping at straws. An old flame of Mom's? Before Dad? No, the timeline was wrong. They were college sweethearts. A secret adoption? But why only me? Why would Dad raise me as his own if... Unless... The ugliest thought, the one I tried to shove down, surfaced and refused to sink. An affair. Mom cheated, around the time I was conceived. And the man I called Dad, the man whose integrity was legendary in our small world. Either he never knew, making him a fool, or he did know, making our entire life, every I love you, every family portrait, a monstrous, calculated lie. Which was worse? I couldn't decide. I couldn't breathe. The familiar walls of my room felt like they were closing in. The smiling faces in the photos on my desk, Mom, Dad, Chloe, me, seemed grotesque, distorted masks. Who were these people? Who was I, if not Mark's son? I bolted, grabbed my keys, ignored the initial confused call from Mom, and just drove, aimlessly. Ended up at that cliché spot, the scenic overlook, city lights twinkling below like shattered glass, just like my life. Tears streamed down my face, hot and angry. Betrayal wasn't a strong enough word. This felt like an amputation of my past. Daniel Peterson. The name echoed in the void where my identity used to be. Hours bled together. My phone blew up. Mom, Dad, Chloe. Worried texts, missed calls. Each notification felt like another grain of salt in the wound. Finally, drained and hollow, I crept back home. The porch light was on, a beacon of normalcy in a world gone sideways. Deep breath. This was it. No turning back. Opening that front door felt like stepping onto a stage, the spotlight harsh and unforgiving. Mom and Dad were at the kitchen table, mugs of untouched tea gone cold between them. Their faces were masks of anxiety. Chloe paced by the living room archway, wringing her hands. The air crackled with unspoken fear. Liam, oh thank God, we were beside ourselves. Where did you go? Mom jumped up, her voice high-pitched with relief and worry. She reached for me. I recoiled as if burned. Don't touch me, I rasped. The hurt that flashed across her face barely registered through my own pain. Dad stood slower, his brow furrowed. He looked so tired. Son, what is it? You're scaring us. Talk to us. I couldn't look at him. Not properly. It hurt too much. My gaze locked onto Mom, the architect of this devastation. My DNA results came back, I stated, my voice dangerously quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. Mom went ash white. I saw her hand tremble as she gripped the chair back. Dad looked from me to her, bewildered. The ancestry thing? Oh, anything interesting? Did we finally prove Aunt Carol's theory about being related to royalty? He was trying to keep the peace, to find the normal. It made the betrayal feel even sharper. Oh, it was interesting, all right, I said, the words dripping sarcasm I didn't know I possessed. It showed my matches. Chloe's there, Aunt Judy, and it showed my father. I let the word hang, heavy and loaded. I saw Dad flinch. Except his name isn't Mark, it's Daniel Peterson. I spat the name out like poison. Care to explain who Daniel Peterson is, Mom? Dad staggered back as if I'd physically hit him. His eyes darted to Mom, searching her face, desperate for denial. Sarah? What is he saying? Peterson? That's impossible. A mistake. It has to be. But Mom couldn't meet his gaze. She crumpled into the chair, a choked sob escaping her lips. Mark, oh God, I'm so sorry, she whispered into her hands. I couldn't. That broken admission was all it took. Dad's face collapsed. The confusion morphed into a look of such profound, world-shattering hurt that it knocked the breath out of me. Chloe gasped, tears instantly springing to her eyes. Mom? Dad? What does he mean? It means Mom had an affair, Chloe. The words tore out of me, raw and brutal. Right around when I was conceived. And he, I gestured blindly towards the man I'd always called Dad, the title suddenly feeling like ash in my mouth, isn't my real father. Our whole perfect little life, it's built on a lie. Dad didn't argue. He didn't shout. He just stared at Mom, his voice a shredded whisper. 23 years, Sarah? You let me raise him, love him, as mine? You let me live a lie for 23 years? Mark, please listen, Mom sobbed, reaching for him, but he recoiled. It's not that simple. It's so much more complicated. Complicated? Dad's laugh was a brittle, terrifying sound. Complicated? How complicated is cheating and lying to your husband and son for over 2 decades? He finally turned his gaze on me, and the agony in his eyes was a mirror of my own. Liam, son, I swear to you, I never knew. I had no idea. And the gut-wrenching thing? I believed him. The devastation was too real, too raw. He was a victim here, too. My anchor hadn't lied. He'd been lied to. Along with me. The room felt like it was tilting. I couldn't breathe. I gotta get out of here, I choked out, stumbling towards the back door, escaping the implosion. The noise of Mom's weeping, Dad's stunned silence, Chloe's confused tears. The door slammed shut behind me, sealing off the before forever. The following days were a special kind of hell, a cold war fought in silence. Dad retreated to the guest room, emerging only for necessities, his face a gray mask. Mom drifted through the house like a ghost, red-eyed and tentative. Meals were eaten in suffocating silence, the clink of forks against plates unnervingly loud. Chloe tried to be a bridge, but the chasm was too wide. My anger at Mom festered. How could she? But late at night, alone in my room, other thoughts intruded. It's more complicated. Daniel Peterson. Why that name? Why not some anonymous fling? And Dad. His devastation felt real, but was it just about the betrayal? Mom slid notes under my door. Liam, please let me explain. It wasn't what you think. Your father and I crumpled the first few. Then, one afternoon, I found another. This one just said, ask your father about the summer before you were born. Ask him about Danielle. My blood ran cold again. Ask your father? Why would she write that if Dad didn't know? Was she trying to shift blame, or was there truly something else? Something darker? I didn't ask Dad. How could I? But the seed of doubt about the simple affair narrative was planted. It mixed with my grief and anger, creating a toxic, confusing brew. I needed answers, but I didn't know who to trust. Driven by a desperate need for any solid ground, I revisited the Ancestry site. Daniel Peterson's profile, still minimal, still just a name, age, location, and that message button. My finger hovered. What if he was dangerous? What if he didn't want to be found? But what if he held the key? The real key? Screw it, I typed, fingers trembling. Hi, Daniel. My name is Liam. Your name came up as my biological father on an ancestry test. This has caused significant upheaval. My mother mentioned your name in connection with my father, Mark, from before I was born. I don't understand any of this. I know this is a massive ask, but I need to understand the truth. Are you willing to talk? Send. The die was cast. Now I just had to wait. And dread what might come next. The wait was agonizing. Each day stretched longer than the last. The house remained a pressure cooker of unspoken emotions. I caught Dad looking at me sometimes, his expression a mix of pain and a strange, unreadable intensity. Mom stopped leaving notes, respecting my silence, but her eyes pleaded every time we passed in the hallway. Then, nearly 2 weeks later, an email landed in my inbox. Not via the Ancestry platform. Directly. Subject, Liam, your message via Ancestry, Daniel Peterson. My stomach plummeted. This felt different, more direct. I clicked it open, heart pounding. Liam, thank you for reaching out. Yes, I saw the DNA match. I confess, a part of me has been waiting for this message, or one like it, for over 2 decades. I can only imagine the shock and confusion you must be feeling. Listen carefully. The story you've likely pieced together. The one about a simple affair your mother hid. That's not it. Not even close. The truth is far messier, involves choices made out of desperation by both your parents, and frankly, involves a past version of myself, and I'm not proud of. Sarah and Mark made a pact a long time ago, born from circumstances you couldn't possibly know. Protecting you was always paramount, even if their methods were extreme. Email feels inadequate for this conversation. The full story deserves more. Would you be open to a phone call? I believe you deserve the whole truth, however difficult it may be to hear. Let me know. Regards, Daniel. My head spun. Both my parents? A pact? Protecting me from what, from him? The email hinted at something far beyond infidelity. It spoke of desperation, difficult choices, and a threat. Suddenly, Mom's cryptic note made a terrifying kind of sense. Dad was involved. But how? Why? The anger I felt began to curdle into a new kind of fear, mixed with an urgent, burning need to know. I replied instantly, heart hammering. Yes, please. Call me tomorrow. He agreed. Sleep? Impossible. The simple betrayal narrative had completely dissolved, replaced by 100 terrifying questions. What had my parents done? And who was Daniel Peterson, really? The park overlook again. My car felt like a confessional booth. When the unknown number flashed on my screen, I almost didn't answer. Taking a shaky breath, I did. Hello? Liam? Daniel Peterson? His voice was calmer than I expected, measured, tired. Hi, thanks for calling. The thanks aren't necessary. You deserve answers. Where do we start? Start with why my mom told me to ask my dad about you, I blurted out. I thought she cheated, that he didn't know. A heavy sigh on the other end. No, Liam. Mark knew. He knew from the beginning. Because this wasn't an affair. He paused, letting that sink in. 24 years ago, Sarah and Mark were drowning in grief. Years of trying for a baby, heartbreaking losses, failed treatments. They were desperate. Their marriage was strained. Sarah was depressed. It was a dark time. He continued, his voice flat, reciting history. I knew Mark vaguely from college, ran into him by chance when they were at their lowest ebb. They confided in me, and I was at my own rock bottom. Addiction, debt, bridges burned. A total mess. This matched the vague hints. But what was the proposition? They came to me, how, Daniel said, his voice dropping lower. It sounds insane now, but desperation makes people do extreme things. They asked if I would help them conceive. Privately. No clinics, no records. They were terrified of the system failing them again. They offered me help. Serious help. Rehab, financial backing, a clean slate. In return, I would provide the donation, and then I would disappear. Forever. Complete anonymity. My mind struggled to keep up. A secret, private sperm donation? Okay, wildly unorthodox, but... So you agreed, and I was born? I asked, trying to fit the pieces. But why the intense secrecy from me? Why not just say I was donor-conceived? And Chloe, she matches Dad. How? I agreed, Daniel confirmed. And you were born. It worked. And yes, Mark knew all along. He agreed to raise you as his own, fully. But then, things went sideways. First, the miracle they never expected happened. Sarah got pregnant. Again. Naturally, with Chloe. They were overjoyed, stunned. Their family felt complete, normal. But at the same time, he hesitated. At the same time, he continued, his voice laced with shame, I fell off the wagon. Hard. The rehab hadn't stuck. I was unstable, paranoid, resentful. I started breaking the agreement, making calls, demanding updates. I became fixated on you, the biological child I'd never know. I wasn't rational. I was frankly dangerous. Ice trickled down my spine. Your parents, Daniel said quietly, became terrified. Not just of the secret getting out, but of me. They saw my instability. They received threatening voicemails. Once, I even showed up near their old house, drunk and demanding to see my son. They genuinely feared for your safety, for their family's safety. They believed I might try to harm them or take you. Oh my God, I whispered. So, they made another pact, he said. A pact of absolute silence. They cut all ties, moved shortly after Chloe was born, changed their number, vanished from my life. They decided the only way to protect you, to guarantee your safety and normalcy, was to bury the truth completely, to erase me. Mark wasn't just your dad in name. He became your sole father in the narrative, a shield against the unstable biological component. Me. It wasn't about shame of donation anymore, it was about fear. Fear of me. He took a deep breath. I eventually got clean, Liam, for real this time. Years of therapy, making amends. I understood the terror I caused. I stayed away, honored the silence I had forced upon them, until ancestry DNA dredged it all up. The phone felt heavy in my hand. The skyline swam. It wasn't infidelity. It wasn't just a lie. It was a desperate act of protection, layered on top of a desperate hope. complicated by addiction and fear. Mom hadn't betrayed Dad. They had faced a nightmare together and made an impossible choice, building a fortress of normalcy around me and Chloe, with the lie as its very foundation. Dad. My dad. He hadn't been deceived. He had chosen this. Chosen me, knowing the biology. Chosen to stand as a shield. Chosen to carry this secret, this fear, for 22 years. The weight of that choice, the depth of that love and commitment, it was staggering. The stability I took for granted wasn't effortless. It was earned, defended, against a threat I never knew existed. The anger at my mom dissolved, replaced by a profound, aching empathy. The hurt was still there, the lie still stung, but it was wrapped in a new understanding of the terror that must have driven them. Liam? Daniel's voice was gentle. Are you okay? Define okay, I managed, a humorless chuckle escaping me. This is a lot. I know. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. For what it's worth, whatever mistakes they made in keeping the secret, your parents adore you. Everything was about keeping you safe and loved. Thank you, Daniel, I said, the words feeling inadequate, for telling me the truth. You deserved it. Take your time, Liam. Be kind to yourself. And maybe talk to them now, knowing the full picture. We hung up. Silence. The city lights blurred. The tears came again, but they were tears of grief, understanding, and a strange, painful gratitude. My world was still shattered, but the pieces looked different now. The drive home was heavy with the weight of this new truth. I found them in the living room, sitting rigidly on opposite ends of the sofa, the gulf between them palpable. Chloe was curled in an armchair, sketching furiously, trying to disappear. They looked up as I entered, steeling themselves. I spoke to Daniel, I announced quietly. The air vibrated. Mom's breath hitched. Dad's jaw tightened, his eyes searching mine, filled with a terrible mixture of fear and resignation. He told me, I said, my voice thick but steady, everything, the infertility, the arrangement, his relapse, the threats, the fear, why you kept it secret. Mom covered her face, shoulders shaking, but the sobs sounded different, a release of decades of tension. Dad didn't look away from me, his expression raw, exposed. Why? I asked, the anger gone, replaced by a deep, aching need to understand them. Why not tell me later? When I was an adult? When the threat was gone? Dad finally spoke, his voice hoarse. We should have, Liam. There's no excuse. But the lie, it took root. It became easier to maintain than to detonate. Every birthday, every milestone. How do you drop that bomb? How do you look your son in the eye and say, everything you believe about your origins is wrong, and we lied because we were terrified? We convinced ourselves we were still protecting you, protecting this. He gestured around the room at the fragile remnants of their life. Protecting us. We were wrong. We were cowards. We loved you so much, Mom whispered, looking up, her face wet with tears. We were so scared of losing you, first to infertility, then to him, then to the truth itself. Mark stepped up, became everything. He is your father in every way that matters. We buried the rest. She looked at Dad, a look of profound shared history passing between them. I am your father, Liam, Dad said, his voice ringing with absolute certainty, locking eyes with me. Nothing Daniel Peterson's DNA says can change 22 years of loving you, raising you, being proud of you. Nothing. Biology doesn't make a father. Love does. Showing up does. I showed up. I'm still here. And hearing that, seeing the unwavering conviction in his eyes, the lifetime of love behind them, I knew it was true. The secret didn't negate his fatherhood. In a strange, painful way, it amplified it. He was the man who stayed, the man who protected, the man who loved me not just despite the truth, but knowing it. That night, the dam broke. We talked for hours. Tears, recriminations, softer now, explanations. Mom's pain over infertility. Dad's terror during Daniel's relapse. The specific threatening calls he'd intercepted. The sleepless nights. The sheer exhaustion of maintaining the facade. Chloe listened, cried, hugged us all fiercely, her relief that it wasn't just an affair palpable. Healing isn't linear, it's messy, backtracking, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. We started family therapy. Our therapist is patient but firm, guiding us through the minefield of buried resentment and fear. Some sessions end in tears, others in stony silence, a few with fragile glimmers of understanding. My relationship with Mom is rebuilding, slowly. The betrayal hurt, but seeing the fierce maternal protection, however flawed, that fueled her choices allows empathy to grow. Forgiveness isn't a light switch, but I see her trying, her vulnerability raw and real. We talk more honestly now, navigating this new terrain. Dad and I, it's different, deeper. There's an unspoken acknowledgement of the battle he fought silently for me. Sometimes I'll catch him watching me, and I see not just love, but the shadow of that old fear, finally receding. We went fishing last week, something we hadn't done in years. Sitting in the quiet, not needing to talk, felt more meaningful than ever. He's still Dad, maybe even more so. Daniel and I have exchanged a few more cautious emails. He respects my boundaries, answers my questions about medical history, expresses quiet regret. Meeting him feels like a distant possibility, not an immediate need. Knowing he's stable, knowing the monster my parents feared is gone, allows a certain peace. So, Reddit, that's where we are, in the messy aftermath. My perfect family detonated, revealing a story far stranger, darker, and more complex than I could have imagined. A story of infertility, desperation, addiction, fear, and ultimately, a fierce, protective, imperfect love. Family, I'm learning, isn't about shared DNA or flawless histories. It's about the choices people make. The choice to love, the choice to protect, the choice to stay, the choice to face the wreckage and rebuild, even when it hurts. We're not the same family we were. We're scarred. We're learning a new language of honesty. But we're here. We're talking. We're healing. Slowly. Painfully. And this foundation, built on the difficult truth rather than a comforting lie, feels stronger, more real. It turns out the biggest secret wasn't just that my dad wasn't my biological father, it was everything my parents endured, together, to make sure he was my dad. And that changes everything. Thanks for letting me share this. It's a lot to carry alone. Liam's story illuminates the hidden complexities that can lie beneath the surface of even the most ordinary-seeming families. Secrets born of fear and love can shape lives in profound ways. His journey through shock, anger, and dawning understanding shows that truth, however painful, can be the first step towards a deeper, more authentic connection. Healing is possible, forgiveness is a journey, and the meaning of family can be redefined and strengthened in the face of incredible challenges. What truly binds us isn't always biology, but the enduring power of choice, sacrifice, and love.